From Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson here. And ahead for you today from the Farm Service Agency, Emily Evans reminds you producers of several important deadlines coming up for participation in the ARC PLC programs and the Noninsured Crop Disaster Assistance Program, among others. Also today, K-State's Justin Waggoner will preview a special K-State series of OSHA-accredited safety training sessions for agricultural workers coming up soon. As well, we'll have a profile of another Kansas couple who've been named Kansas Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker. Today, the story of Phil and Rhonda Perry of Jefferson County. And on this week's horticulture segment, the first of a two-part visit with K-State's Ward Upham on planting garden potatoes. All that right here on Agriculture Today. You're tuned to Agriculture Today. Thanks for listening in once more. On our opening segment today, we'll cover an assortment of happenings of importance to you producers. And we'll begin with a quick rundown on a number of important USDA program deadlines, very directly ahead. Over now from the Farm Service Agency, state headquarters for Kansas, is Agricultural Program Specialist Emily Evans. We're focusing mostly here on the date March the 15th. That's this coming Tuesday, Emily. Several things are due then. Most importantly would be the 2022 crop decisions on the ARC or PLC programs, right?
That is correct. Yep. We've got this upcoming deadline. We're trying to get producers in to the office so they can finish up their sign-up. And those payments should be coming out. It'll be next October of 2023 calendar year. Any
idea at this moment how many producers outstanding that have not yet made their commitment to either?
Yes. So compared to our previous year averages, we're looking at about 20% that we expect are still not come into the office and finished up their sign-up. So those are the people we're focusing on that we're hoping to get in this week.
And the importance of this is not to be understated. If they want to participate, they have to have their name on the dotted line for either of those on the 15th, correct?
That is correct. Yes, the office needs to have received it by then, or if it's being mailed in, it needs to be postmarked by March 15th.
And by the way, the offices are open, so if producers have questions about the process whatsoever, why, they can ask those in person this time around.
That's right, yes. COVID numbers are pretty good in our counties, and so all of the offices are open. They are staffed up to 75% right now, so everybody needs to make sure that they call before they come, but they are open for appointments.
Again, March the 15th is this coming Tuesday, and that is the date that the ARC or PLC program participation decisions need to be into your local FSA folk. And incidentally, there's information on analyzing that decision handy for you out of K-State at the agmanager.info website. We've spoken about that before. Also on the 15th, another program sign-up is due, and this is the Noninsured Assistance Program. Remind us what that is.
Yes, so what we call the NAP program is for crops and commodities that aren't covered by crop insurance. So that would be like specialty crops, hayed grass, grazed grass, those types of things. We have a deadline coming up for that as well for March 15th. It's not as predominant as ARC PLC, but it is very important that folks get their applications for coverage in by that date.
And this, again, is for protecting one's status on those non-insured crops for the upcoming growing season.
That is correct. Yep, for 2022.
So keep that well in mind, March the 15th. What do producers need to have in hand to come in and sign up for the NAP program?
They need to correlate with their acreage report that they're going to be doing come July. And there is a fee for a lot of producers who come in, unless you're a beginning farmer or underserved producer. So there may be a fee involved. However, if you regularly participate, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise.
Should be fairly straightforward.
Yes.
Again, if you're interested, if you're planting one of those crops that falls under the heading of qualifying for the NAP program, March the 15th is your deadline there. And even before then, there's a deadline looming this coming Friday for the latest general CRP program sign-up?
That is correct, yes. We had a short turnaround for this CRP sign-up, so we're trying to finish up and get everybody in. And if you haven't contacted your county office already on that, please do so. It's a big one as well. That's a big program.
You bet. There are routine general sign-ups, of course, but this is the latest opportunity, and you have until this Friday to submit your criteria for applying for a CRP contract. And again, the emphasis there is on environmental benefits.
Yes. Yep. We're trying to conserve the land as we always have. Those are generally 10 to 15-year contracts that folks sign up for, and it's a great program that we have.
All questions on any of these matters can be answered by your local FSA folk. Emily, thank you for coming over with these quick reminders.
Thanks so much for having me.
Emily Evans with us from the Farm Service Agency State Headquarters for Kansas. Changing gears now, we want to inform you about a unique educational opportunity for agriculture workers, especially in the western part of the state. That would include feed yard and dairy personnel. K-State Research and Extension will be facilitating a formal OSHA general industry course. And as you would expect, the onus there will be on operational safety. Organizing this, our guest now, Beef Systems Specialist Justin Waggoner of K-State Research and Extension. And Justin, there's going to be considerable depth, it appears, to this ag safety training. Multiple sessions, and those will canvass 30 hours of formal training, you say.
That's correct, Eric. And so one of the things that we're going to be hosting in Garden City that I've been involved with is a 30-hour OSHA general industry course. And so given the scale of just the agricultural segment in western Kansas, we have a variety of corporate entities. Safety is always a concern. And so we were pretty excited to be able to, at K-State, to be able to partner with some organizations out there and bring a 30-hour OSHA course to our agricultural workers out in that area. So we're specifically targeting feedlot, dairy, as well as the grain industry, maybe even large farming enterprises. And so what's unique about this is an OSHA-approved training, and the 30-hour tag is accurate, so we're going to spread the training over 4 sessions. Those sessions will be on Fridays, and so it'll start March 25th. And go every other Friday. So April 8th is the next session, April 22, and then May 6th. So every other Friday beginning March 25. The first 3 sessions are going to be hosted at the Southwest Research and Extension Center in Garden City, Kansas. There is a pretty significant hands-on component to this training course. And so the last session, we're actually going to be at High Plains Feed Yard in Montezuma, Kansas. They've got a nice facility there where we have a classroom situation, and then we can actually walk right out on the yard and do some safety assessments and actually walk through some of those OSHA regulations. And so a very good training for anyone that's involved in the agricultural industry in western Kansas. Really, what we're targeting is mid-level managers, people that are responsible for safety and safety training in the workplace. And if they attend all 4 sessions, they will receive a 30-hour OSHA card. So this is a very good opportunity to get some high-quality safety training. I mean, many times we do safety training in-house, but this is an opportunity to get some OSHA-accredited training with OSHA instructors as well. And so it's a very good opportunity for our agricultural industry out in western Kansas.
There's value in that certification, particularly at the management level. So this is extremely thorough.
Absolutely. It checks all the boxes, 7.5 hours each day, and the curriculum is structured by OSHA. So we're following all of their rules and guidelines with OSHA-approved instructors as well.
Again, 4-day-long sessions. There is a fee involved to cover the incidentals of conducting this.
Yes, we do have a course charge of $100 per person. So the other aspect of that is if we have multiple registrations from the same company, we are offering a discount. It does depend on whether you're sending 2 or 4. It is kind of how we've structured that to make that a little more palatable to our companies out in western Kansas or anyone across the state. And our course size is limited, so we do have some restrictions on that as well.
Registration handled where then?
So there's an online registration link that you can simply click on the QR code, or you can register with myself at the Southwest Research and Extension Center office. So jwagon@ksu.edu or 620-275-9164, and we'll get you signed up. But it'll be on a number of our websites, Facebook. We'll be posting that on all of our KSRE social media outlets. And so the easiest way to sign up for it is most likely through that online registration link, where you just, all those will be active and they should be able to click and get signed up for that.
This is great outreach. Again, it's a 30-hour OSHA general industry course for agricultural workers. It'll take place on Fridays, March the 25th, April 8th, 22nd of April, and May the 6th. Go to southwest.ksu.edu. There's a flyer depicting all of the details. Justin, many thanks to you.
Thanks, Eric.
Justin Waggoner with us. He's the Research and Extension Beef Systems Specialist for K-State, based in southwest Kansas, and might slip in a quick word here about another informational event that Justin has a hand in setting up. K-State Research and Extension is partnering with Lallemand Animal Nutrition to stage 2 silage management meetings. And those are set for this month, Tuesday, March the 22nd at Rock Springs Ranch near Junction City, and Thursday, March the 24th in Scott City. These will run from noon till around 4 o'clock at both locations, same program, and a lunch is included. Things to be covered including pre-planning your silage pile space before harvest, how silage affects cattle gut health, and silage utilization trends in the cattle feeding industry, along with more. Silage management meetings co-hosted by K-State Research and Extension. Again, Tuesday the 22nd at Rock Springs Ranch near Junction City, and Thursday the 24th of March in Scott City. Reach out to Justin at southwest.ksu.edu for more information. We'll be back. You're listening to Agriculture Today. Now in the spotlight on Agriculture Today, another of the Kansas couples who've been named to the 2021 class of Kansas Master Farmers, Master Farm Homemakers. K-State Research and Extension and Kansas Farmer Magazine co-sponsor this longtime recognition program based on excellence in farming or ranching and community service. 6 couples will be so honored in ceremonies here in Manhattan tomorrow evening, including these folks. Upon graduation from high school in 1978, Phil Perry wasted no time pursuing his dream of being a cattle rancher. Right away, he went to work full-time for a local cattle operation near Oskaloosa, the town he grew up in Jefferson County, northeast Kansas. In 1987, then, he took the leap and started his own ranch, purchasing part of the family farm as a 5th-generation owner and leasing 700 acres of pasture. A couple of years after that, Phil married Rhonda, who had grown up on a farm just to the south near the community of Perry, and she took up a position with the Jefferson County Health Department, which she served for the next 29 years before retiring, all the while being an active working partner on the ranch with Phil. Steadily growing their operation, Phil and Rhonda now own 300 acres of pasture and hay ground and lease another 2,000 acres, running a 500-head cow herd. The Perrys are big on leadership. For instance, they've both served on numerous local boards. Rhonda has served on the regional board for the Kansas Farm Management Association, Phil on the National Cattlemen's Beef Board, and currently as the president of the Kansas Livestock Association.
You know, I was fortunate to grow up in the little town of Oskaloosa. We had some vacant lots behind our home. That's where Dad kept a milk cow, and I kept a pony and a few Holstein calves that started my career, I guess.
Rhonda, you grew up on a farm likewise, correct?
I did, yes. So I grew up in Perry, which is about 20 miles from here, so south of here. And we had cow herd, and we put up some hay and did some crop ground, and always enjoyed that. We had our farm animals, and our family farm had been in our family for a little bit of time, so it brings lots of special memories as I look back on that.
So which one of you wants to tell the story of how you met and got together?
Yeah.
However that rolls.
Well, I was working down in the neighborhood where Rhonda was, and next to her folks is a old schoolhouse, and they would have Sunday dinners there every once in a while, and I was invited down there, and we were introduced, and so we both knew of each other, but that was about it.
Yep.
And so, but we hit it off, and so worked out real good.
Yep.
So far. No.
To how you got started with the ranch then, Phil. And you graduated from Oskaloosa High, and then you went right to it, didn't you?
Well, there was a farmer who lived just right outside the town of Oskaloosa. And I believe when I was my freshman year in high school, I started helping him. It's a diversified operation. There's a farrow-to-finish hog operation with a few cows and crops, like many farms had back in those days, you know. And I worked for that gentleman all through high school, and then I worked for him for 2 or 3 years after high school. And as I did that, I accumulated some cows, and at that time my dad and my uncle owned where we're at here. They had inherited it. And so as time went on, I bought my uncle's share of this location. Then I went and I worked for a gentleman down towards Perry, where Rhonda was.
Yeah.
And I worked there for 6 or 7 years till 87, I believe. And that was strictly a cattle operation. So I worked there, and I continued to grow as I was able to, this operation. You know, I saved and one thing and another till I felt like I could go out on my own. So I did, and just continued to grow this. And you know, we've been very fortunate to have tracts of land and stuff that came to us not to own but to lease, and we've retained those for a long time. And I think people saw that we were committed to doing this, and we cared for not only our holdings, but they saw that we had done at other rented pastures, and we'd cared for the fences, we'd cared for the grass, and maybe the way we cared for our livestock too.
So your stewardship carried the day for you in terms of
I think so.
Business
I
arrangements.
think so, and I think that we were blessed too, that we both came from good families that taught us, you know, to be good people and to take care of things. I think that's helped us a lot.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, we haven't got rich here or anything, but we've been
Make
able
a
to do what we
living.
wanted to do.
So now you're up to a 500 cow herd, plus those that you do precondition and handle those for other folks as they come through. This has been a family endeavor, though. Your children from the very early start were not just nominal participants in this, right?
No, they were here every day. Yes, I had a job in town, and we always laugh. It was to support our habit here on the farm or the ranch. But I would go to town, and Phil would watch the kids, and they would get to tag along and do whatever he had for them to do that day. So they have a lot of stories from those days, whether it be cutting cedar trees out of pastures all day in 110-degree weather. I mean, it was not something they enjoyed all the time, but they had a lot of good memories. But I worked in town and was able to commute back and forth because I was only 5 minutes away. I worked in Oskaloosa. Then as our children grew, then they started having families. Then I was able to shift my daily work, so I was able to work 4 10-hour days and watch my grandchildren on the Wednesday during each week.
And just for the record, Rhonda, you worked at the county health department.
I did, yes.
For what, almost 30 years?
Yep, 29 years. So, yep. So that was quite a journey. Retired from there in March of 2018, and that has allowed me to be here at home and not only always doing the books in the evenings, but I go out and help Phil, and we do a lot of work together. He still is the primary cattle person, but I'm a backup, I guess you could say.
She notified me prior to her retirement that I could not expect her to drive the pickup with that big, long cattle trailer. And when it got really cold, I was on my own outside.
That's right. I had my stipulations.
There are some rules, yeah.
Yes.
And you both found time, and have to this day, to be engaged in other things off the farm. Phil, you are currently the president of the Kansas Livestock Association. You've also been involved in the Cattlemen's Beef Board at the national level. Speak to that for a few moments, and what's behind your commitment there?
I guess my love for my industry. You know, I started out as Jefferson County chairman of the Kansas Livestock Association. That's kind of where I got started. After the county chair, I got on the Stock Growers Council, which is one of the 3 committees of the association, and ended up chairing that. Then, like you say, got asked to serve on the Cattlemen's Beef Board, which oversees the dollar checkoff, is what it is. And that's been a great experience, a great educational experience to learn the mechanics of that and one thing and another. But yeah, it's a great honor to be asked to serve as president of the association. We call them our KLA family that we see 3 or 4 times a year, or families, have made great connections. We know people from Florida to California and everywhere in between, and would not have ever met these people if we would not have gotten involved in our industry.
And Rhonda, for your part, among other things, you've been a leader in the Kansas Farm Management Association effort, not only locally but regionally, right?
Yes. It would have been, I think it was 2003, but I was on the board, and then at 2003 I became the board chairman or the board president. And what a learning experience. And we have been a part of Kansas Farm Management. I think it's probably been 31 years. It's been an amazing adventure, and we learned as a young couple that we needed to get involved to be able to get connected with our peers and to learn and reach out to them, and that has been tremendous help. I've served on local boards here in our community. I've served on the library board and our Oskaloosa Rural Housing Board. I would just always challenge everyone out there to always be involved and stay involved in your community.
From Jefferson County in northeast Kansas, Phil and Rhonda Perry. And tomorrow right here, the 6th and final profile of the Kansas Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker class, to be honored tomorrow evening, Jess and Larice Schwieterman of Hamilton County. We'll be back. This is Agriculture Today. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and to close out this edition, it's our weekly horticulture segment. We're going to spend some time today and on next week's broadcast as well, getting into planting one of the more popular garden vegetables, potatoes. It is that time once again. And joining us once more, horticulturist Ward Upham of K-State Research and Extension. So when we say it's time to sow those potatoes, we have a fairly decent window of opportunity, don't we?
We surely do. I mean, St. Patrick's Day is usually a traditional time that people think of putting potatoes in the ground, but really mid to late March is probably the primary time, but you can go as late as mid-April and still be fine. So we've got a long period of time that we can put those potatoes in the ground.
Do want to bring out, though, that one wants to plant in good soil conditions, and you have to watch that.
That's right. So how do you check to be sure it's dry enough that you can work it? The way you do that is you grab a handful of soil and grab it at the depth you're going to plant. Squeeze it. If water comes out, it's way too wet. If it doesn't come out, take your finger and push into what you have squeezed. If it crumbles, it's dry enough. If it just makes an indentation, it's not. And you have to wait a little bit longer before you actually work that soil.
And as we'll speak of, you're talking about a couple of inches or so of depth. So that's the soil ball you want to sample.
That's right, because you don't normally plant these very deep. Traditionally, some people have. They've made a deep furrow, but then you're into cool soil and it takes longer for them to come up. Better to plant them shallow.
Well, get into shopping for potatoes. Where to obtain those? Some folks still think that the grocery store is a good outlet. Not so.
Not so, because those potatoes are often treated so they don't sprout. They can hold them longer in the grocery store that way. And so it's better, always better, to get certified seed potatoes, because not only will they sprout, but they also are certified disease-free. They'll be high-quality potatoes.
Variety selection now. There is an assortment to choose from here. Walk through some of the more productive varieties, if you would.
So in Kansas, we've had good luck with the LaRouge, Lesotho, and Red Norland for the reds. For the whites, Kennebec, Norchip, Superior, Irish Cobbler. Also, don't forget Yukon Gold. That's been a variety been around for a long time, and it's done really well for us. As far as russets, we have one that really has outperformed all the other, and that is Norcota. It's a variety that's developed at North Dakota State University, and that's where they got the name. So if you're going to be used baking potatoes and you want a russet, Norcota would be the one you'd want to find.
As far as prepping for planting, you have the seed potatoes. They need to be cut up, split into seed pieces here. What's the process?
Okay, so for a regular potato, regular size potato, if you just cut it into 4 pieces, you're going to be fine. What you want is a piece that's between 1.5 and 2 ounces. Now, there's going to be more than one eye on that seed piece, and you want that, because if we get a cold snap that wipes out that first one that comes up, you've got other eyes that will then sprout and take its place. And so don't just cut them out so that you have one eye per piece. You want about 4 pieces per regular sized potato. You may get a few more if you have a large potato, and if you have a small one, you may only get a couple. But just make sure they have more than one eye, and they usually do.
And then once one has sliced those seed pieces up, you want to wait a bit. Why so?
When you cut that potato, you're going to notice that it's going to be moist. You want to allow that moisture to what we call suberize. In other words, it forms a protective coating so that when you plant it, it's less likely to rot. And so normally you'll take about 2 to 3 days for that to suberize, to cover over. Kind of looks like it's almost a white chalky appearance on that cut piece. And store those seeds in a warm location, because then it'll take less time for them to suberize. So don't put them out in the garage where it's cold. It'll just take longer to accomplish that process.
Ward, we'd like to have you back next week and round out the story here by going through planting and care of garden potatoes. So we'll talk again then. Thank you.
You bet.
Ward Upham, horticulturist, K-State Research and Extension, with us on this week's horticulture segment. And with that, our time's away once more. Thanks once again for being along with us. Eric Atkinson here. This has been Agriculture Today over the K-State Radio Network.